What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Nerd Level Rising, or welcome if this is your first time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for checking out the channel. I appreciate it. My name is Jake, and I'm going to talk today a little bit about some of the new releases in 2025 that I am going to read on day one. Okay, on day one. At least that's the plan for now. Some of these I could see potentially shifting around a little bit, right, if things just get super busy. But all of these I'm going to do my absolute best to do on day one. And a solid handful of them will, no matter what, be happening on day one. It will take a huge catastrophe to, knock on wood, to keep me from reading these on day one. So I might try to kind of delineate that as I go through this list. But I'll also say I don't have a definitive release date for a lot of these. They just haven't been announced precisely yet. So these, might slide around a bit throughout the year. Some of them might not even fully come out in 2025. But as far as I know, these are things that are, some of them are certainly locked in, but not all of them. But I'm doing my best to do things that are happening in 2025. Honorary mention here, I guess, to Red God by Pierce Brown. I don't think that's coming out in 2025. I was optimistic about that earlier in the year. Over the summer, I made a video. It was one of the first videos on my channel about 2025 releases that I'm looking forward to. And that I had Red God on that list. And since then, I've become a bit less optimistic about it coming out in that calendar year. But hey, if it does, that's going to be a day one read, right? So I guess we can sort of include that in here. But these aren't in any order or anything like that. Let me just kind of run through them, jump in. Here we go. Number one on the list, Of Empires and Dust by Ryan Cahill. This will be book 4 in The Bound and the Broken. I absolutely love this series. I'm fully current. I've read everything in there, including the short story and all that stuff. And wow, where the story has left off towards the end of War and Ruin, and even some of the things that we saw in the ice that tie in to where we're at currently in the series. I am so excited to get into book 4. Ryan has talked about on his Instagram and in his newsletter and things like that he's doing some stuff with this book that is difficult for him as a writer, right? Emotionally. And I know that he's continuing to push himself. He's pushed himself as an artist. Every book that he's done, every book has gotten better, and I can't wait to get to it. So that's going to be a huge, massive book. But hey, man, we're going to make it happen. So Of Empires and Dust by Ryan Cahill. After that, we have something that I have not even started this series yet, but I'm definitely going to be caught up in time for this release, and that will be book 3 in the Library Trilogy by Mark Lawrence, and this is the book that held her heart. I have not started this yet, but I have heard so much praise for the Library Trilogy. I have the first 2 books on my shelf. They're not super long from what I've heard. They're not super difficult, really time-consuming reads, and I'm planning to do those maybe January and then either February, March. I'm thinking like January, February, because March is going to be eaten up by if Of Empires and Dust comes out when sort of that late February, early March thing that I've heard the latest rumors to be. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong there. March is going to be eaten up a lot by that book, so probably Jan and Feb are going to be the months to do those and catch up in time for the book that held her heart. But I'm excited for that one. I don't know a whole lot about the trilogy, to be honest. I just know that some people whose opinion I value highly have mentioned it as a series that has really meant a lot to them and challenged them, emotionally, intellectually to think about some things deeply. And man, the more things that I read, the more I find myself really seeking out an experience like that. So I'm excited for that one. The next one on this list, this is on everybody's list for next year, right? And that is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. As much as I love The First Law, I've only read the first trilogy. I haven't done the standalones yet. I haven't done the Age of Madness yet, which I know, blasphemy as a fantasy fan and as a grimdark fan. But I'll get to it. I'll get to it at some point. There's too much stuff to read, man. But The Devils is definitely on the list. I've heard any spoiler-free reviews or just kind of statements, I guess, in general that I've heard have been that it's fantastic. And it's kicking off a new series completely unrelated to The First Law, but it has a lot of the things about The First Law that we really liked. Sounds awesome, right? So that one definitely day one there by Lord Grimdark himself. The next one on this list is another one that I'm not fully caught up on the series yet, but hey, we're going to be caught up by then, and that is the sequel to the Edan trilogy by Philip Chase. This sequel, I believe, is a standalone called While Darkness Gathers. And man, you guys, if you've been following the channel, you know how much I love the Edan trilogy. And I'm excited to jump into book 3, probably late this month. I should be able to start working my way through that one. And I'm so excited to get to it. I've adored books 1 and 2. And to be able to read this sequel book on release day is something I'm very, very excited for. So I know Philip has mentioned on, I believe it was either on his channel or in an interview recently, that he's thinking about a, Q2 release, something like that. So maybe somewhere in that, April, May, June, July, somewhere roughly kind of time frame. So it gives me enough time to get through book 3 and be ready for that one. So very excited for that. While Darkness Gathers by Dr. Fantasy himself. After that, speaking of, some self-published people, speaking of some BookTube people, we got to have this on the list, man. My boy Chance, who is, everyone loves his videos, man. Everyone loves his videos. And in those videos, he always talks about, his reading stuff, but then also has those writing updates at the end. That in every video, he always says, if you're just here for the reading, you can go ahead and leave. Thanks for watching. Here's the writing stuff that less people care about. So many people care about that stuff, dude. Everyone loves hearing about it. Everyone loves hearing you follow your dreams and be making progress, and following that progress has been really satisfying, and now we're at the point, this latest update that he posted, it talked about how his editor now has the book. It's getting close, right? And he talked about the free Patreon he's going to set up. So go check out his latest video. Chance Dillon is the name of the channel. But his book, Mercy, Tears of the Fallen, is set to come out next year. It sounds like it's going to be, it's an interesting, how do I even explain this? It's a part 1 of a duology, right? Where it sounds like it's going to be sort of 4 total books, right? 2 books make up part 1 of the duology, and then 2 later books will make up part 2 of the duology. And I'm so excited to get into this. I was fortunate enough that he sent me the first few chapters that I got to read through, and they were awesome. And I cannot wait to get more. And yes, I'm just super stoked for that. Mercy, Tears of the Fallen by Chance Dillon. Keep your eyes out for that. Watch his channel, get all the updates, regarding that. On a similar note, I have a not a booktuber, but a Instagram friend, and that is Will McLaughlin, who was, if you watched our Booktubers D&D video, he was our DM, and he was fantastic. He is a writer as well, and he's been working through his book. I don't know if it's coming out next year or not, but I got to give him a shout out here because I know he's getting close. I know he finished the draft, and I don't know if the title is public yet, so I won't say it yet just to be safe. But yeah, I'm excited for that. If it comes out in 2025, you guys know I'm reading that right away as well. Okay, after that, let's get into another heavy hitter in the genre, and that is, of course, Mr. Brandon Sanderson with another secret project that he's putting out. That I've loved all the secret projects so far. I didn't read the The Wizard's Guide to something medieval London, something. I don't even remember the title. But I didn't read that one. But I did read the 3 Cosmere ones, and they're just fantastic. I love them all so much. This next one sounds like, based on the premise, probably gonna, it's certainly already in the running to be my favorite, just based on the premise and sort of where it's at in the Cosmere, what we're going to be exploring. Can't wait for that. Isles of the Emberdark is the title that they have put out there. I believe it's supposed to be maybe like middle 2025, something like that, in the summer. I think they're going to start to ship for their backer kit campaign, ship out the fulfillment stuff in the summer for that. So I got the nice Dragonsteel edition ordered, and very excited for that one. Those secret projects have just been so much fun. So Isles of the Emberdark, certainly there. We have the finale of the Sun Eater series that's supposed to come out next year. Wow, man, as you guys know how much I love Sun Eater, and to get the finale next year is just going to be unbelievable. I'm going to try to read Disquiet Gods in January is my goal, and then I'll be all fully caught up, fully current on everything. And then we'll just have to sit there and wait a little bit to get to Shadows Upon Time. But it'll be worth every moment of the wait. By all accounts, it's going to be the longest book in the series, and I'm happy about that. Man, I don't even know what else to say, dude. I mean, Sun Eater has been my obsession all year. I cannot wait to get the end of the story and just see how it all ties together, see how it all wraps up. That will be incredible. Speaking of, continuing a long-running series, I suppose, that would be, we should, in theory, be getting a new Malazan book next year, and that will be the sequel to The God Is Not Willing, the next book in the Witness series by Steven Erikson. The title is No Life Forsaken, and I'm excited for. I haven't read The God Is Not Willing yet. I'm going to try to read it very early on here in the year because I'm planning on going to the ICFA conference, the International Conference for the Fantastic and the Arts, I believe is what that stands for, ICFA. And rumor has it, Mr. Erikson himself tends to attend that conference most years. And so fingers crossed, I'm hoping that he shows up this year, that I would get to meet him. That would be incredible. And I want to make sure that I read his most recent book before meeting him, so I can get in there and talk to him about it, right? Maybe even bring it and get it signed. We'll see. I'll keep an eye out on for any updates from him about whether or not he might be going. But even if not, regardless, I'm super excited for more Malazan. I mean, it's one of my favorite series of all time, and it'll just be great to just be back in that world and keep going. And it sounds like we have a pretty good release schedule, right? It's been kind of a long time for some of the people with waiting on Carcanus Book 3. And, I know a lot of people were disappointed that he left that series for a little bit, but it sounds like we got No Life Forsaken coming out most likely this year, almost certainly this year from what I have heard. And then the third book in the Witness series should be pretty soon behind that. Carcanus Book 3 should be pretty soon behind that. And then the fourth, and I believe planned final book in the Witness series should be, on the horizon. And along the, we'll have the Esselmont, more Paths to Ascendancy books coming out, right? So it's a good time to be a Malazan fan, I think. We got some exciting things ahead of us there. Other things, we have some self-published stuff, and actually, I think I only have one more self-published on this list as I check my list. Yes, last self-published book on this list, at least for now, as I continue to become aware of new self-pub authors as I just go and learn about them, right? There's a lot of stuff that I just haven't heard about yet. But you guys know I'm a big God Eater fan. I've talked about that quite a bit on the channel. And we have the next God Eater book that should come out in 2025. And from his last update, Rob J. Hayes talked about how the Phase 2 of the God Eater trilogy, which is a trilogy of trilogies, Phase 2 is not quite ready yet. And sounds like it probably will not come out in 2025. It might wait till the next year or something like that. But he was working on a novella that was going to go in the world, and it just kept expanding and expanding, and all of a sudden it became its own standalone novel. So the God Eater standalone novel called Hammerfall is supposed to come out next year. Very excited for that because I loved God Eater. Really excited to read more Rob J. Hayes. I want to do his War Eternal series this year as well, or I guess this coming year as well. And so Hammerfall is definitely on my radar there for whenever we get some news about when that might come out. That will be very cool. Other stuff, Strength of the Few, the sequel to The Will of the Many. I haven't read book 1 yet, but by all accounts, I'm going to love it. I'm excited. I have a buddy read set up with some other fellow booktubers that we'll talk about more as we get a bit closer. That'll be really exciting for all you guys. I'm sure I'm very excited for it. It's going to be very, very fun. But I like I said, by all accounts, I'm going to love The Will of the Many, and then the sequel will then be, I'm sure, unless it drops the ball, I'm sure the sequel will be a day one read for me as well. There, Strength of the Few by James Islington. Another one that I have really come to enjoy is the Inheritance of Magic series. I talked about book 1. Oh, that was a handful of months ago, I think. How much I really enjoyed An Inheritance of Magic by Benedict Jaka, and how excited I am to continue that series. I have book 2 on the shelf I'm going to read pretty soon, and then book 3 should come out towards the end of 2025, as long as he keeps with his schedule that he seems to just be incredibly consistent with. And so I'm excited for that. That'll be really awesome. I don't know the title of that one yet, but it'll be the sequel to An Instruction in Shadow. And like, how cool are these titles, guys? I mean, come on, it's crazy. We'll have the Blackfire Blade, which is the sequel to another one that I have not yet read yet, and that's the Silver Blood Promise. You guys, can you see the trend? Right, I haven't read a lot of these like booktube darling books that I really should read, that I'm sure I'm gonna love, but I just kind of missed the boat on them when they first came out. But they're on the list because I want to be on that boat, on that bandwagon when the sequel releases. Another one scheduled for next year, and like, can we talk about how cool the title is and the book cover for this, the Blackfire Blade? How cool is that, man? It's amazing. It's amazing. I've talked about before as well. I'm an easy sell, right? You give me a cool premise, cool title, cool cover. You give me like 2 of those 3, I'm in. right? And I'm probably going to like it. And then the last one on my list here that is another one that it's another booktube darling, in this case series that I've not yet read, but this just really caught my eye, and it's like, okay, that's right up my street and sounds so intriguing, so different, but really, really cool. And that is going to be the next Fonda Lee book. And I have not yet read Greenbone. I know. Don't hate me. It's on the list, right? I'll get to it at some point, but I have not yet read the Greenbone saga. But her new book, The Last Contract of Isako. So I saw this description. Let me read this, right? So make sure I nail this. Cyberpunk samurai space opera. Right? Like, that sounds incredible. And I really want to get to that. You know, somebody who, like, to me, what does that make me think? That makes me think of Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, like, just mixed. And those are, two amazing anime. Watanabe, who made it, just such a visionary, just such great storytelling, great character work, great everything, in those stories. And when I start to think about those things, especially combined in a novel form by an author that I've heard endless amazing things about, come on, it's got to happen, right? So the jury's still out on whether or not I'm going to try to read Greenbone before I get to that. I don't know. Next year is getting awfully jam-packed. There's a whole lot of stuff I'm trying to read next year, so I don't know if I'll have time, but I'll try my best. Okay, that's my list, man. I'm sure there's stuff that I left off, so let me know in the comments, what are you really excited for? What do you want to read on day one? Maybe I missed some really popular stuff that just slipped my mind, and I'll have to go back and do an addendum maybe, but I would love to hear what you guys are excited for. Give that video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you want to hang around, you want to see more of my videos, hit that subscription button. I love it. I love seeing this thing grow. I love talking to more people. I love just interacting. These comment sections are always so fun, man. And it's fun to just talk about this stuff, right? That's always fun in and of itself. But I always get recommendations. My list continues to grow. It can never be too long, right? I stand by that. The TBR list can never be too long, even though it does get more intimidating by the day. But we'll get there. We'll get through it all. We probably won't get through all of it, but we'll get through as much as we can anyway, before we, someday we'll read our last story, which is really sad and really scary to think about, but hey, it's a long way away, hopefully. This is a weird way to end this video. I should probably shut up before I keep rambling on that. This is weird. Okay, thank you for watching. Ignore that last bit. I don't know. Maybe it's funny. Who cares? Doesn't matter. I'll see you in the next video.